The doctor referred to the twins as twin A and twin B. The name that I liked the best was Lara, and the name that he liked the best was Abigail.
我们做产检的时候，就觉得，它就像是一个豆芽这样的小小，所以我们就取小豆芽这个名称。
Lara was very cooperative, whereas Abigail was always moving around or hiding, and we joked that Abigail was a bit of a troublemaker. We had a lot of conversations about our hopes for them, and I do remember I have a very distinct memory of when we were watching the Olympics. And we thought, oh, well, maybe one will compete for Singapore, one will compete for Australia.
那个时候非常的辛苦，是因为我没有办法真的陪孩子走完最后1里路吧。他给我看宝宝的那个脚印的章，会有一些奇怪的想法，说，是不是老天爷觉得我们不适合当父母？
When we saw twins for the first time, it was a shock. I mean, because we had an IVF pregnancy, we discovered that that embryo had split, so they were identical twins. I was actually really happy. I've always wanted twins, so this was like a dream come true. It's almost like, I can't believe this is happening.
You just feel this like immense amount of responsibility on my shoulders, and for us it was it's going to be the first time we're having new lives brought into our family.
Of course, I was worried as well because they started telling us all of the risks. But doing my 32-week scan, actually, her growth had caught up. So at that point, the doctor felt confident that we didn't have to deliver early. On a Saturday, it's a bit unusual, like their movements, but we just saw the doctor yesterday. We just saw everything was perfect. I put my hand on my belly, and it felt like I could feel the baby's limbs, like in a lifeless, I don't know, maybe I didn't want to believe it right away. I just wanted to believe that they were just sleeping or resting. I don't know, maybe at that point, a part of me knew, but I just was in denial. All of the ultrasounds we had seen, it was very quiet. And so when I was just staring at the screen, before the doctor even said the words, I knew. He said, "I'm sorry, there's no heartbeat." And we just couldn't believe it because 2 days ago they were perfect. You know, what happened?
And just being stunned. Nobody teaches you how to manage grief or what to do in these kinds of situations.
And I actually remember you crying in the car from the hospital all the way home. And I remember thinking to myself, I had never seen Aiden cry that much. We asked our doctor the next morning what was going to happen at the birth, and he said, well, once you deliver the babies, you have a choice. Do you want to hold your babies, or do you not want to hold your babies? And I said, what do you mean? Like, what if you don't hold your babies? And he said they would be discarded as medical waste. And we said, yeah, we want to hold our babies. And then when Lara came out, they put Lara on my chest. So Lara was on my chest, and Aiden was with Abigail. We were there in the room, and we could hear babies being born, and you could hear the cries. And there was, lots of joy surrounding us on the labor ward. We could hear it. We were so sad because our experience was completely different. We're waking up in the middle of the night. And it was just completely silent. It was so quiet, the funeral was over, no one was in the house, and I wasn't pregnant anymore. I don't have anything to hold on to from their lives except for, photos and videos that I had taken.
其实那个时候我们当下在吵架，对不对？
对，觉得快要走不下去了。
对，因为我觉得两个人在一起啊，有些时候就遇到一些瓶颈嘛。然后那个瓶颈就是说，要么你就是在一起就是结婚，不然就是可能真的会分开。然后
我就回我家过年，他就在他的地方过年。有一天，我突然觉得我很不舒服，我想说怎么很奇怪，然后一眼两条线，我大吸了一口气，然后我也没讲什么，我就传了那个照片给他。
我就直接跟他说，不管怎么样，我说我愿意要负这个责任了，一切都是缘分，那缘分我就要好好的珍惜跟守住它，这样子。
你太太会看节目吗？那你好好打哦。
居家啦，要居家。
我当天其实是在拍摄一个节目嘛。
我的顾家是它是以家庭为中心的。
节目录制到一半，在空档的时候，他就突然间打来，然后打来的时候，他就突然间这几个字是我至今是没办法忘记的，就是说宝宝没有心跳了。
李腾，怎么就一脸苦闷的看着我？你觉得？
老实说，当天的记忆是对我来说是很模糊的。我觉得我就是像一个空壳。
我还记得那时候医生有跟我讲一句话，就是说这个就是1/1000的几率。对，那我就很不能接受，就是说1/1000耶，为什么会有1/1000的几率发生在我身上？
我的第一个反应就是立刻想要赶回去陪在他身边，因为那时候疫情嘛，又要隔离，有快3个礼拜才见到面这样子。他整个人是瘦了一圈，就整个很像是从一个，就是那个对比性很强烈。我印象中就是我送他回台湾待产的时候，他是很有阳光、有活力的时候，但是我第2次再见到他的时候，整个是非常憔悴的。
我就是一直在哭，然后我妈妈就跟我说。没关系啦，我们就赶快面对，我们不要等了。 我也没有讲什么，我就说哦好，那我们就直接去医院。让我很记得，就是说，同样是在产房，隔壁也都是啼哭声，可是我的好安静哦。医生也没有讲话，护士也没有讲话，大家也没有那种喜悦。当下护士问我说：“你要看宝宝吗？你要抱他吗？”其实当下没有人跟我在里面躺，然后我说我不敢看欸。然后护士跟我讲一句话，就是说：“妈妈，其实你发现的很快。”宝宝的颜色都还是很漂亮，他没有发紫，他的皮肤的颜色都还是很漂亮的。宝宝在身上，可是为什么他没有哭声？他为什么不会动？你就觉得拼命去回想，说我到底哪里做错了？我哪一步没有遵照医旨，还是说做错了什么事情伤害到我的孩子，导致我今天失去了他？
There's the diaphragm moving up and down.
不是所有的死胎我们能找到原因，即使详细的检查过后，比如说经过了胎盘的化验，我们未必能找到一个明确的原因。一些常见的会说是胎盘的一些发育异常，有时候也是会是病菌感染，或者是说胎儿本身有一些基因的问题。其实对我们来说也是很难解释。
Travels along the tracks from the city, through the countryside until it reaches its final destination.
它这火车是放上面的吗？
是这一架吗？
是这一架，哇！这一胎哦，跟上一胎比起来，就是上一胎是整个容光焕发的，但是这一胎老实说，他有买一个胎心监测。
好，爸爸让他 flip，
OK flip，
转翻，喂，
哇，
再
flip， 每一晚是一定哦，就是要听宝宝的心跳声，不然他是没办法睡觉的。
在这一次怀孕的时候，初期我也不敢抱太大的喜悦。一般人的产检可能就是1个月1次，但我的产检就是2个礼拜1次。怀孕的时候，我也不敢准备任何的小朋友的东西。有一句话大家说的很正确，在我的身上，抱到手的才算是真正的自己的孩子。
虽然我们现在有新的 baby 嘛，但是我们觉得是个体，
也不是说新的 baby 吧。
对，就是我们现在有 baby，
有孩子了，
就是
对。
像我们之前的小朋友一直会在我内心，就是他不是说可以被取代的，而是有自己的位置在，但是我们会放在内心的最深处这样子。
我很记得那一本书，那一本书上面叫做《终止妊娠关怀手册》。我回台湾的时候，我就不小心打开那一本，我就让看，然后看到最后一页，我以为我不会哭，我以为我已经变坚强，但是我没有我还是一直在哭不停，
又流下来，
还是一样哭不停。我觉得这个痛会是一生的。给爸爸吃。
给我吃，给爸爸吃。
我觉得妈妈跟这个孩子的一个联系是无法释怀的。上一刻你还在计划着跟这个孩子的一切，下一刻这一切就一瞬间没有了。人的大脑就会做什么呢？擅长的是找答案、找解释、找规律，但是这种失去里面 父母亲不会找到一个答案。很重要的一点就是能给这份悲伤、这份爱变得具体一点。所以有些父母亲他们就会说：“哎，我给孩子取一个名字，一定要取一个名字。”
你是不给他生气喽？给他一下，对。
What's the name you picked?
Yeah.
Yeah. They asked for the baby's weight. They asked for the time of death, time of birth, time of death.
All of that stuff, yeah.
You know, they asked for the parents' names, but they didn't ask for the baby's name. Yeah.
And to distinguish between, because they were twins, right, they had to give us 2 forms. And to distinguish between them, the nurses had written twin A and twin B just in pen at the top.
We felt like that was a little bit, like there was no dignity. I wrote an email thinking that it would be just a suggestion that they could look into. They said, sorry, we don't need the baby's names because it's not required for any administrative purpose.
I would like to especially thank Miss Mandy Too, who had advocated for a stillborn child's name to be entered in the stillbirth register. The time her twin girls, Abigail and Lara, spent with us may have been short, but they have left an indelible mark in this journey to help bereaved parents.
It was actually really touching because she said, although they were only with us for such a short time, they left a mark. And she said the change in the law was because of Abigail and Lara. To hear their names publicly in Parliament, it was, yeah, for me, it's something that I'll never forget. That's a lot. Okay, bring them all here.
Which one do you want first? Fancy Nancy? I can read Fancy Nancy. There are lots of
That question, how many children do I have? The more accurate answer would be we've got 1 living child, but we've actually got 3, and we lost twins. Abigail and Lara always being a part of our family. We can't dismiss, you know, their existence. They were always here and they will always be a part of our families. Yeah.
She's already in my restaurant.
Hi, I have a question. What's your name?
Josie.
How old are you? So Josie, our daughter, she knows that she's had 2 sisters that she never got to meet.
Do you have any sisters?
Yes.
Who are your sisters?
Abigail and Lara.
Oh, that's very good.
Good job.
我见过浩瀚的海底，也体会过高山反应，却忘了你总盼我的轨迹。
这个不可以啊！你看他又要喝了，完蛋了。
那因为我本身是一个很乐观的人，所以第一次遇到这样的情况的时候，我的想法是，可能是因为我们还没有准备好当父母。
那对于我来说，我觉得 我把这些精力都花费在告诉自己说，我要赚更多的钱，把生活过更好，然后迎接接下来的孩子。
这个痛会好吗？不会消失，但会习惯。虽然没有这个缘分做你的爸爸妈妈，但是我很感谢你曾经有来过。对，
我觉得我应该会跟他讲说，希望你一切都安好，一切好，
对，
就好了。
像跟上你一样画风雨做拥引，哦，听听又听听，不见你的脚印，时间啊，时间啊，一分差隔天涯，命运啊，命运啊，一停转没筹码。想起最后的曾经，若知道从此分离，我会留下将你紧紧拥怀里。